All right. So welcome to tonight's Build a Plan session. And at this time, I just want to introduce a new member to our team. You probably already realized that there was 3 of us here instead of 2 of us. So past District Governor Anna Wickenhauser from 5M2 is signed on to help me with the area that's the US side of 5 and 5M, because 15 districts is just a little bit too much. So Anna's graciously stepped forward to help me get everybody caught up to speed as far as the GAT. And Gail is here as well, representing the Saskatchewan folks, who I think outnumber the US folks on the call as I'm looking at the screen right now. We're not showing very good from the US side today. But we'll go ahead and get started. If I can find. All right, everybody give me a thumbs up if you can see the presentation, okay? All righty. So welcome everybody. We're here tonight to talk about section 3 or step 3 of the GMA process, which is build a plan. Just a reminder that the focus here tonight is really on us introducing the slide deck to you so that you can go and use this in your district. So we're not quite executing it, we're more training you how to use it. There we go. So for the agenda for the Build a Plan workshop that you'll lead when you get back to your district, you're going to start with a review of your district analysis that you completed together at the Build a Vision. So if you remember, last time we met, we walked through a hypothetical situation of doing that SWOT analysis and creating a couple of goals to really set forth the outcomes from that Build a Vision. So when you start the Build a Plan, if you're doing it at a separate session, a separate sitting, you're going to want to make sure that you leave some time at the beginning to reacquaint everybody with the Build a Vision workshop, what came out of that, and then allow them time to provide feedback that they maybe got from their district when they went back and started to share that vision with you. Then you can make sure that everybody knows kind of what resources are available to help with your action plan. And then finally, you get to move on and start doing the action plans themselves. So as I said before, we're at step 3 now tonight, build a plan. And from here, we will move on to build success, which we have scheduled for April. If you didn't participate in the Build a Team or Build a Vision, hopefully you all got the mini newsletter that had the links to those YouTube videos for you to be able to watch those on your own time. So let's remember that when we're growing membership, which is really the, kind of the primary focus of the global membership approach, we can't lose sight of why we want to grow new membership, where our new members are coming from, is going to help us to provide more service to our areas. And after all, that is our motto, right? We serve. So it's really all about providing better service to our communities through gaining new members. When we last left off at the conclusion of the Build a Vision workshop, everybody was asked to share the details of their district analysis and all of their club's information that they gathered as part of the vision and go out and solicit the feedback. So at this time, you'd want to encourage your participants to share that feedback and to start that review. And again, just a reminder of what our SWOT analysis is about. It's about leveraging our strengths, managing our weaknesses, taking advantage of our opportunities, and minimizing the impacts of our threats. And just to better equip you all to go out and do this in your districts in the future, we took some time and we actually incorporated into the next few slides the output of that mini SWOT analysis that we did at our Build a Vision session, so that you'd have an idea of kind of how you would tailor this slide deck to use in your area. So I'm not going to read these all to you, but this is what we'd want to see you do moving forward when you bring this to your districts, is you take the time to actually tailor these slides to include the outputs of those SWOT analyses. And then finally, the output of our beginning session of Build a Vision, we came up with membership goals. And you're going to want to remind them and revisit those goals that they had, and give them the opportunity and some time to maybe tweak those goals before you go into building the plan. Because it is likely that the feedback you received from sharing what your vision was through the SWOT analysis, then maybe your goals were too lofty. Maybe they weren't lofty enough. Maybe you wanted to focus more on retention and not so much on extension and new clubs. So give them the opportunity to tweak those goals before you get into your build a plan, because you really want to build the plan off of those goals that you have for the district. So, no,
are you going to talk to this one?
Yep, and then I was going to introduce you, Gail.
Okay.
So have a bias towards action. Let's see something happen now. You can break a big plan into small steps, and you can take the first step right away. So why is this quote maybe important to us? What does that have to do with our GMA? Well, when we establish our goals, it took a lot of planning to get there, right? The going through the SWOT analysis, dissecting and analyzing all that took a while to get to there. And there's a lot of steps along the way, but every step that we take is bringing us closer and closer to being successful. So therefore, every step that we complete, we should really be celebrating, regardless of how small the tasks. And at this point now, I'm going to turn it over to Lion Gail to lead us through some of the action plan elements that we will use to build our plans.
Thank you very much. So there is a template that you can use, and this is the one that they recommend, but you use what you can with what you got. So depending on what it is that you're going to be doing, we are going to use this template. And the area of focus that we're going to be taking a look at is, there's 5 of them there. There's a service activities, membership development, LCIF, leadership development, and a custom one, which could be just about anything. So you really want to make sure that you choose it. And we are going to look at membership development. For the goal statement, we want to indicate what exactly, and you want to make sure that you're very specific on what your membership goal was going to be. So let's say your membership goal is going to be to do with membership. You want to break that down into the steps as to how you're going to get there. So the first thing you may want to do is to talk about all the different things that you think that we should do, and then go back and take a look at it. So the action step is doing all the details as to what you need for resources, what activities you need, what communications you have to do. So there is a number of steps. Next, we have responsible party. So for responsible party, you will have your team of individuals. And with that team of individuals, you or the team will be deciding who will be doing what step. And you want to make sure you have the right person doing each step. Required resources, those are what you're going to need. So if you are going to be doing something that involves technology, you want to make sure that you have the technology needs, or the technology that is required to do the job. You want to make sure that you have enough team members, and you want to make sure that there's funding in place, because there is membership funding out there that you can apply for. Next, the date to begin and the due date. So when you're looking at these dates, make sure that when you are planning your dates, that you have enough time to be able to figure out what it is that you have to do for that particular step, do the planning, be able to communicate what has to be done, and then the due date would be when you're going to be following up on it. The assessment and the, I think it's alliterations, those are done throughout the planning process. So the assessment that you're going to be doing here, it's if you have to you change your timeline. Let's say you thought you were going to start this April 1 and you were going to be finished by April 14th. once you get into it, you realize, there's no way we can do that. And so the assessment is where you're going to make your change, and the same for the alterations. It's modifications that you're going to have to do to your timeline and any action steps that you're going to be doing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some sample action plans, just so that you get an idea. When you go to do your SWOT analysis, you are going to look at maybe 3 different things that you're going to action. It depends on how many people you have. So 3 is the ideal number at this point in time of what you want to do for your action plan. So we're going to look at some different membership areas. So the first one that they have here, as you can see, they're going to do membership development. They have gone and said what their goal statement is. So by the end of the year, they're going to charter 1 specialty club. And then if you take a look at the action steps, every one of those action steps starts off with a action word. So the action word is create, select, choose, promote. And then you choose who it is that is going to be responsible for doing the creation of the extension team. Also, you're going to look at what the resources are for that particular step. So it could be that maybe you have interested members that are there. Everything will depend on how many people that you have as to how big your team is going to be. And then the begin date is they're going to start on the 5th of June, and they hope to create this extension team. They're going to only take a couple of days to do it. And as you go through, you can see each of the steps, what they've done and the wording that they've done. And as noted when I said earlier, the assessment and the alterations, they haven't put anything there yet because they're just beginning the action plan for this particular goal. So the next one, we're going to take a look as focus area number 2. We're going to be taking a look at having new members. And for the new members, they're taking a look at what it is that they're going to do to recruit new members. And what they're going to look at is what tools are going to be needed. So that is the goal and the steps that they thought that they would need to figure out what they need to be able to go and attract new members. So if you read down through here, the action step, again, there is an action word at the beginning of each one of these, and they try and describe it as briefly as they can. And they put down who the responsible person is and the dates and the times. You have to take a look at resources, and Anna will give you a little later on, she will go through all the resources that are available out there that you can use when you're going out to recruit members. Yep, next one, member satisfaction. So this one would be more the area of like your GST, because you're usually, to satisfy members, usually you're looking at some sort of survey, or you're looking at some kind of service for them to do. And again, they've gone through and they've listed off all the action verbs for review, what's available, review the actual guide and how to go about doing it. And they're looking at scheduling meetings. And you can see for the timelines as to how long it's going to take to do that. And lastly, the last one we have is leader support. And that would be usually your GLT or your global leadership team member would be the person who would be looking at some of this. And so for the fiscal year, they're talking about holding quarterly webinars. And so that is how they believe they're going to be able to go through and improve the member engagement or improve their satisfaction. Again, for each of the steps you have there, they talk about the verb at the beginning, which is meet, collect, and request. They listed off who is going to be the responsible person for looking through all of this and what the resources are that they're going to need to be able to do this in the timeline. So once you've gone through and done your action plan, usually it's a good idea to have an action plan summary. So for each of the areas that we just looked at, the new clubs, the new members, the member satisfaction, and the leader support, it's a good idea to go and do a summary so that anybody who is involved, they can take a quick look at what is involved with the whole thing, who the leader is going to be, what the resources are, and what the budget. So usually you try and keep this quite short and to the point. And you put down whatever it is that you have for information on each of the action plans that you have. And I believe next, strategic planning. So for the strategic planning, we want to make sure that we're supporting any innovation. If you have anybody that's there, if they've come up with an idea you've never thought of, make sure that you support that individual. Make sure everybody contributes at least one idea to everything that is involved or that has come up with the action plan. Try to be positive all the time. Try not to do negative comments, because the fastest way to turn somebody off is to make a comment that they take as not very complimentary. Sometimes, some of the ideas out there are going to be pretty wild, and you're going to look at them and go, how the hell can we going to do that? But encourage those wild ideas, because you never know what will come out of them and what the creativity is to get to that process. And if it's possible, you can combine and improve. So for the 4 different areas that we're doing, so at a district level, you would be organizing into each of these areas where you're focusing on new clubs, new members, member satisfaction, and leader support. And you want to be able to have your groups focus on each area. Now, on this particular slide, they're showing 4 different areas, and depending on your manpower and how many people you have, you may not be able to do that. So focus on what it is important to you and what the actions are going to be for each of these different areas. And then make sure there's a leader in each group, and make a list of all the actions that need to be done for the slide or for the action plan. And unless commitment is made, there is only promises, hopes, but no plans. How many times have you gone to something and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this plan. We're going to go through and we're going to do this. And then it kind of drops. And no, there's nobody there to follow through or make people accountable for what's happening. And that usually discourages people. So we want to make sure that if you're out there, that the commitment has been made, and we have got an idea of what it is that we're going to do, that we put a plan in place, and that we have details for that plan, and that we go through and action it and make sure that people are following up on doing it. And if there are problems with the action plan, maybe you need to adjust what the action steps are. Or maybe you need to take a look at the timeline, and maybe the timeline needs to be adjusted. Or this diagram is a really good diagram to summarize what the working group organization will be, and the focus areas that we've been talking about so far on the clubs, members, satisfaction, and support. You can go through and list off who is going to be the leader for each, and who are the people that are going to be working under each area. If you take a look at new clubs, that's usually your extension chair, if you have an extension chair. For new members, it'll usually be your membership, your global membership team member or coordinator would be that person. For the satisfaction, usually it might be your global service coordinator. And lastly, leader support, usually that is your global leadership team member. And, we're all together on this, and it's a journey that we're all going to be taking. There's a lot of support out there. We have support at each of the constitutional areas. We have support within our multiple districts. We have support within our districts. We have past district governors out there who are more than willing to give their opinion on things and more than willing to help. We have past international directors. We have past council chairs. There are a lot of different people out there. And maybe for your district, you already have some of these committees on looking at membership. Take a look at what it is that they've been doing and see what their plans are. We have neighboring districts that you can go to for support, even neighboring multiple districts that you can go to and talk to. So tonight we have 2 multiple districts. We have MD5 and MD5M. So you never know what ideas that you can get. There was an email I sent out early today that came from Anna and Pat, which talked about how to do presentations of the GMA to the clubs. And yeah, it's not as formal as what we're going through here, but it is very to the point and makes it easy to explain to the clubs. And like I said, there is a lot of support out there depending on what your district or what your multiple district has. And next, I believe we have Anna, who is going to be talking about all the available resources that are out there.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm a more interactive presenter, and I'm just curious on the resources available for rejuvenating new clubs. Has anybody seen any of these links, or has anybody clicked on them? Show of hands. All right, Sue, which one do you think has really benefited you? Which one was good for you to click on the link and helped you out? I can't hear you, Sue.
I went to new member orientation because we needed to do that in our club. And I thought I'd rather do it in the official organized way than just stand up there telling stories.
Okay. What else has anybody else used on here that was really helpful for you or gave you some new perspective? Because you know, we're not reinventing the wheel here if we don't have to. Catherine.
I am particularly interested right now in the concept of the club branch, because I think that that is the easiest way for our smaller communities to identify a group of people that may not fit into the traditional, noon coffee lunch bunch that we have quite a few of. So I think that's excellent. Also, of course, the guiding lion materials are really excellent. And I might mention that there's going to be a webinar that's going to be held. I think the virtual Lions Facebook page is working with that next week on the 22nd for looking at the guiding lion materials and how to share them within your districts. So that's just a little tip right there.
Thank you, thank you. Matt, you can move on to the next slide. Revitalize clubs with new members. All right. Who's looked at this one? I'm gonna pick on somebody that I don't know. Heather, have you ever clicked onto any of these? Have you ever seen them before, I should ask? It's okay if
Yes.
you know.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I have seen these before, and I have checked into some of these. I checked into the benefits of being a lion one, and I guess that was partly just because I wanted to sort of use some information when I was doing inductions in some of the clubs that I was in, so I found that helpful. And I think, the induction ceremonies, I've used that and sort of tweaked it to meet my needs and the clubs that I've been going to. And the orientation piece is another one, the new orientation. There's a lot of clubs that don't do orientation and don't know anything about it. And we are doing something in our district on March 4th for new lions. So we've been kind of looking at what that would look like, and we have people involved in that. So there's a lot of resources. You could look every day for something and find something new. So I appreciate what's out there.
So has anybody not seen any of this information before? I'm just kind of curious. You have not. Bernie,
No, I haven't been much. I've been busy every time when you guys had the last meetings, I was always away. So I'm not much at computer illiterate. It takes me a while to get used to this stuff. But I'm catching on.
I get it. I get it. Okay. Okay. So, I would suggest when you figure out how to turn your computer on and go to Lions International to look at some of these resources, because you don't want to recreate the wheel. If there's something on there that is a question you were wondering yourself, you can use anything out here to modify it and change it to work for you. Matt, can we go down to the next slide?
It's Ray Tatro in Lloydminster and 5 SKN. I printed off the membership application. I might be just me with my printer, but it would have been more convenient to have printed on 2 sides, and I couldn't figure out how to not do it with 2 pages between the invite and the application. Is that the way it's set up, or was I just doing something wrong on my end?
That's usually just, you can usually tell any type of document to print on multiple sides on your own printer settings.
Yeah, so
So it's probably something in there, and I would even offer, Ray, if you run into problems and you can't figure it out, we can just do a quick Zoom and I can probably walk you through how to do it.
okay, appreciate that, Matt.
So we're on to the next one. Remotivate members with new fellowships and exciting service. Woo! What are we gonna do? Has anybody helped or used this? Any of these before? Lane,
The 100 service ideas is a really good
one.
handout to send.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It attracts the eyes. If you put it down on a table or something like that, people go to that one right away.
And you know what I found when I was looking through that? You read them and then you think, wow, that's so simple. Why didn't I think of that? Some of these ideas kind of hit you over the head with a sledgehammer and you're like, duh, I could have done that. That's an easy one. It's a really easy thing to do. I'll get your visibility out there. I can provide a service. And I had to read it on an LCI slip of paper to realize, oh, wait, maybe we should do this. So I'm not knocking anybody that hasn't looked on this stuff yet, because there's a lot of stuff out there and they have a lot of things. The one that I thought was really good when I was going through all this is the improving your club quality webpage, or doing a member satisfaction or a club assessment. Find out what your community needs. Do they even know what you do for the community? When I'm from a town of 1,500 people, and we've got the bars, of course, we've got the Catholic Church, and we've got a post office, basically. And so I set out through the city the service survey on what the Cologne Lions do for their community. And most of them I got back they didn't even know we were there. And we've been chartered there for almost 50 years. And it was just like surprising to me that our visibility was really non-existent, and people just assumed that the Christmas lights that are hanging in town were done by the city and all these things that we do. So I know finding that out really kind of makes you think, okay, we know what we're doing because we're Lions, but how does the community see us? What do they think we really do, or what is it? So I really strongly suggest looking at that and making sure that your club even knows what you're doing. The resources available. Next slide, please. District leaders and club leaders. The Lions Learning Center. Most of you should have been on this, right? Incoming for sure. The club officer, zone chairpersons, the training materials. You can pick anyone, Matt. Conflict resolution, anything on here. It gives you a nice overview and you can train on it, and it gives you tips and hints and things that you can do. What are you bringing us to? Okay, conflict resolution. Who hasn't had a conflict in your club? I was going to say no hands are raised because I think I would call you a liar. We have conflicts. Of course we do. We're human. A lot of different personalities. What we think is important, the person sitting next to us does not think it's important. So effective ways of dealing with some of that conflict, instead of telling them you're not out of your mind, you don't know what you're talking about, you can maybe phrase it a different way, or diffuse the situation another way. And as a district governor, you go through a lot of training on dealing with difficult people and listening and communication. And so as you're moving up the leadership path, these are really more important, I feel, than the public speaking. Everybody's nervous about public speaking. You do one, you do two, they come easy, but you have to really listen. And you'll find as a district governor, you do a lot of conflict resolution between clubs. They'll call and complain to you about something, and you say, okay, I hear what you're saying, and you use all the things you've been taught through these resources. And it's just, it's a good thing, good training.
Anna, the one I was going to mention is those ebooks. People don't
Yes.
realize how many links and how much information is in those books. And I think they're really valuable to any club, executive, president, secretary, treasurer, whoever.
Yeah, the ebook is a wealth of knowledge. Marketing. We don't market ourselves enough. There is a lot of things that we can use down here. The Alliance fact sheet, public relations guide, how to do a Facebook post. For those of you that haven't got a Facebook page to your club or whatever, my son, who's going to be 15, he says Facebook is for old people. Okay, that's including me, but it's effective. So he set up an Instagram account for me for our district, because I'm the social media person too, which is kind of laughable. And so I was all excited. I said, okay, is it set up right? Do you see it out there? And he goes, yep, it's all good. So I was going to share our district newsletter on Instagram. I was so proud of myself. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm really techie. I've got this down. And I realized after 2 days, there wasn't anybody following, nothing like that. And so I said to my son, Vinny, I said, do you see our district newsletter on our Instagram page? And he goes, no. So he looked to see what I'd done. Here, I didn't post it. So, I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. I've made 2 posts now successfully. But there's nothing wrong with learning as you go. Business cards, templates to market your club. If you have something going on, all of it's on here. Anything you need or want, it is here. And if not, you can find it elsewhere. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Next slide, please, Matt. All right, LCI and LCIF funding sources. So bringing up, you decide you want to do some of this stuff, but where is the funding coming from? Good question. It's always a good question. There are some grants available. We have the membership development, the public relation grant, GAT success story. That one is very, very easy to get. So you basically have to meet the criteria, brag about something that's gone well in your club or your district or wherever, send it in. And if there's funding there, they'll send you've been accepted, share your story, and you get mailed out a check to your district treasurer or your club treasurer. It's that easy. It's good visibility. It's exciting to get. Tells you right there how to get it. So if you have any trouble with that, contact people. The LCIF matching grants, the grants through LCIF, numerous grants available. So how many of you have heard of the Global Lions Forum on Facebook? Okay, so if you're on Facebook, I suggest you go to that page, Global Lions Forum, and like it. They have, I'm not slamming LCI, but sometimes they have better ways, simpler ways, easier ways to get things and ideas. And it's all a bunch of lions basically coming together and asking questions. And it just kind of takes the burden off of LCI staff. and they get their opinions across. And there's a GMA, that's also something on Facebook, GMA 4, the letter 4. The clubs are Lions, for Lions. So try to find that one too and like it, and you will be amazed at how much stuff. Yeah, this is the Global Lions Forum. And just like it and be accepted into it, and you will be amazed at what things are you can find out there. And you can do it right now. We have time. They left me plenty of time because I'm a more interactive person. So if you have access, go to Facebook in the Global Lions Forum. I'm talking to you, Bernie. Do you have Facebook? Ah,
No, I'm
Bert,
not.
man, we are gonna have to talk.
Like I said, you can lead a horse to water.
Yeah, and we'll drown you in it. We'll drown you in it. We'll not force you to drink. We'll just drown you with it. But no,
There
I'm
you
just
go.
teasing you. I'm just
Uh,
teasing.
Been thinking about doing it, just haven't got around to it. It just,
All right. Well, if you need help setting it up or getting on, we're
oh
here.
no, I've got one that can nag me. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be
Hey,
you.
I can nag you too. I can be your
I
other
know.
lion's wife. I'm a good nagger. So is there anybody that's looking for it found it? All right, Heather. All right. Okay, good. All right.
There.
So next steps. So you can meet with your working group to complete your action plan, receive or review the sample action plan booklet, share your plan for feedback before submitting it as part of your district goals in the Global Membership Approach Seminar, Build Success. Does anybody have any questions? Come on. You have to have some questions. I was overwhelmed when I learned this. And coming back from St. Charles, for those of you who came back from St. Charles, your head is like bam. And when Matt and I came back from St. Charles, it was NAMI. That was being, we all signed up for it from Brian's multiple, so we all felt obligated, and we all had this, woo, we're going to do it. We were all fired up coming back. We were going to make this NAMI program just fly and take off. Well, then COVID hit. So it kind of clipped our wings and whatever. And they changed it to the global membership approach. And for the clubs in the districts and the multiple districts that are really truly working the plan, and you don't have to do all of it. You know what your club or your district needs. I'm just going to say district. You know what your district needs, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. These are just a guide to help you follow. Just pick one or two of them. If you're doing really well in membership, I'm just being optimistic here. Focus on leaders. Focus on service projects. Just try to pick one or two of them if it's too overwhelming, and just discuss a simple plan. Keep it simple. So, and you can always modify your goals on the action plans. It's not as overwhelming as it appears to be. And just keep it simple, keep it little, make sure to celebrate your successes, especially on the district level. You want to put them in your newsletter. You want to shout it at the rooftops that one of my district goals was to get our clubs on Facebook. Yeah, where is he? Bernie. And it took a lot of phone calls from me because I was just sitting in front of the computer all day. And I would call these clubs that, the youngest person was probably 75. And I'd say, do you have a Facebook? No, that's for the younger kids. And I'd say, nope, I've been told it's for an old person. So let me help you set one up. And you would have been surprised. So I basically we have 66 clubs in our district, 64 of them signed up and got Facebook pages. And I check in on them on time to time, and they send me emails or they'll call me to say, now I forgot how to post or how to change something. And it just opened up a whole new world for them. And it was just simple. And it didn't take really any time because I had all time because they didn't go anywhere. So just expand your horizons and start small. That's my advice. How do you bite an elephant? One bite at a time. And know that Matt, Gail, and I are here to help you. We're not here just to read off the screens and tell you what LCI wants us to tell you. We're here to be the boots on the ground to help you. We'll be realistic in it because Matt's a tech guy. He's a really good tech guy. I just met Gail this week, but I think we're going to get along really well. But I know that there's problems out there, and I know people are going to have trouble. I know Mr. Kinzelman here down in the bottom here is wondering how the hell did she get that position? I don't know. They were desperate. That's why they asked me, Dick. But just reach out to us because that's what we're here for. And Matt has said none of you have ever really reached out to him. And it's a shame because that's what we're here for.
That's not 100% true.
Oh, Catherine, yes. Okay. Catherine, yes. I'm sorry, Catherine.
I was going to let you know that there are some clubs that I've been involved with, directly or indirectly, and help them be able to go on to the LCI website into the member portal and solve problems. We had a club last year that we found out hadn't reported for 2 years. The reason they hadn't reported for 2 years is they had no access, and nothing they did would give them access. So we went to our rep for CA2, and she talked to LCI, and within 24, 48 hours, they started having access again, and then they had to play catch up because they had no access. They couldn't get their membership reports right. They couldn't do any service reports. So we're here to help you. If you know clubs out there that are having problems, let us know, and we will do everything we can to work with the GAT team or the Global Action team in Chicago to get you what you need, and that's our job.
So how many of you have bought into the GMA process? How many? Okay. Some of you are still on the fence.
And now those of you that have bought in, how many are having success? Starting to, right?
We're
Oh,
working
Bernie,
through the
we're gonna have a lot
process,
of
but
fun. Yeah.
And I know I've heard from the district governor for 5SKS that he's gone to a lot of club meetings where, they're bringing people in. And so, for him, it's a successful year in that they're bringing in quite a few people. And on his team is Lane and Heather, and the same thing. They've been bringing, when they go to the meetings, they've been doing the, whatever. I can't think of the word, the swearing in or the, making them align. Induction, that's the word. They've been going through and doing quite a few inductions. So I think that they've had some success in the South with having new members join.
How many of your districts have embraced the new global extension team coordinator and actually put that position into place? Has anybody done that? This was the first year.
We have our person that's been assigned to that and reported back to Jay.
And has that been successful to help deal with membership now that you have somebody focused on new clubs and somebody who's focused on the other parts of membership? Or too early to tell still?
I was gonna say, we had to turn him in the beginning of January, I think.
Oh, pretty new then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually, we're just trying to keep a hold of folks.
I actually didn't know that position existed until I went to St. Charles.
Yeah,
they showed it on the screen, and I'm like, "What's a GAT?"
This year was the first year, and it was technically like a pilot year, but it is something that they're going to keep around permanently now, and I'm pretty sure that's probably what they told you at the Q centers, that it's here to stay. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because we've required our global membership people to do new clubs to help keep people in clubs and do retention and to do other things. And it was just way too much for one person to do. even from a coordinating perspective, no, we should all have teams, right? We shouldn't have just one person, the coordinator, doing all the work anyway, but we know how that works sometimes, right? But yeah,
I was going to say, I think that it is a really good concept. It goes along with all the rest of the ideas. I think that, you know, I think each has to kind of assess where they are with their clubs overall to see what the greatest need is. But I definitely think that in the scheme of things, it's going to be an important facet of the overall plan.
This is a little bit off topic, but how many people have got their cabinet members already that are district governor elects? Or okay, are they all filled? I'm sorry, Rick, are they all filled?
All but two.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Wow, good.
Well,
for
that's real
you.
good.
for
That's
you.
real good for this time period. Yeah.
Right.
All but two. Can you hear me?
Mm,
How about you, Lane?
Definitely still working on it.
Yeah.
were
So
you
work in
surprised
progress.
at the
Right.
Q Center that they expected you to already have started? I was under the impression that you wait till your district governor year, or your district governor finishes out their year. And I was really surprised when I went to the Q Center that they expected us to have all this stuff in place already or start working on it. And I'm like, wait a minute, the district
Mhm.
governor isn't even half over. What the heck? And I was really, well, Matt and I talked about it at the Q Center. I was just so surprised, and I was caught off guard by, we're supposed to basically have our starting year already lined up and ready to go. And so my advice to you, the seconds and people that are moving up the ladder, start planning now, because the expectation is, by Christmas or shortly thereafter, you're silently working behind the district governor. And I thought too, it was kind of like, you're supposed to be supporting your district governor. They've got half a year left, but you're kind of like undermining them, starting to get your own cabinet in place and to get your own SWOT analysis and stuff like that in place. So that I found really surprising. And it does make sense once I think about it. And I've gone through the year as a district governor. But that really came as a shock to me, that you're supposed to have your stuff already kind of planned out, or start thinking about what you're going to do come July 1st, hit the ground running. So my word of advice to you is to start thinking about it, maybe planning it. And for those of you that are seconds, be glad that I gave you this little tip, Heather, because you're going to want to be, kind of angling, seeing who's out there for leadership positions, kind of getting what's working this year for your district governor, what your first, if it's going to be a segue and you're going to work as a team together, the three of you, or if you're going to do your own thing. That kind of stuff goes into play, because once you hit district governor, the year goes really, really fast. And at the end of it, you're going to say, I didn't get half of the stuff that I wanted to accomplish. It's like, wait, I finally figured out what I'm doing here, and now I'm already a past district governor.
That's
That's
what I've been
Other-
saying.
mind.
I appreciate that information, Anna, and I appreciate the fact that we can talk openly about that, because I do think we're supposed to be working as teams, the district governor, the first and the second. We should already be sort of looking, as you say, Lane should already have time and had time to start putting his people in place, because when you start in July, you should be ready to start, not waiting until halfway through August to think, well, what about this person and that person? And it shouldn't be seen as you're sort of behind the scene doing something you shouldn't. It should be just part of the learning process. This is how it works. We're all working as a team. I should be starting to think about people that I want, and I should be telling Lane about people that he should have that I know that I would want, right? So that we kind of are, it's a progression of leaders and leadership roles, because I think that's what's lacking for a lot of us. We are desperately looking for people to step into leadership roles, and we're waiting too long, and we don't have that sort of plan in place, because we're all thinking, well, I can't do that until the next person is done. And so I really like this conversation around how this has to be, an ongoing thing and not something you wait for. So I really appreciate it. Appreciate what you talked about here.
Matt, you can correct me, but I think
have a question.
the proper protocol is to ask your governor if it's okay to have those conversations.
Correct. Usually you ask for that permission. The other thing to keep in mind is if you are going to be making changes, like for a fact that you're replacing certain people, you might want to save those conversations for the last ones, because there is a chance sometimes that can cause those people to give up on the current governor, and you absolutely don't want that to happen. Right. So you have to be aware of those types of situations. And sometimes you behind the scenes ask somebody else, if they would be willing to take that job before you really tell the other person they're not going to have it anymore. Right. But yeah, you're right. You should definitely talk that through with your governor to make sure that they're open to having those communications, because otherwise they would potentially perceive that as, oh, you're trying to take over my half of the year now. You're not even governor yet. That could cause other conflicts.
Catherine's been trying to.
Yeah,
Catherine's been trying to talk.
I was just going to say that in 5M10, we started out the year with a strategic planning group. And at this point, we're in a different mode and looking at where we are, what we need to do to finish out our year. But more importantly than that, since our district governor-elect has just come back, very excited. And of course, our plan at this point is to put together a transition plan. And so I'll be meeting with her and with our second, not pulling in anybody else at this point, but we will, because we have our DG team as well as we have a leader for each one of our strategic goals. And so we'll be looking at all of those and working all together as a team to see what we need to do as a district in terms of developing those plans for the next Lions year for our district, because we very much see our district as it's the district as we move through. So those of us who are sitting in roles of leadership, it's our job really to just try to steward that. And I think I think the idea of undermining the sitting district governor is very common. And I found it somewhat surprising as I worked with the international group, and that I worked with of so many of the folks in the group who did not have, there were a lot of closed doors, even in terms of reaching out to district governors. And I think that whatever you can do, and of course it's a culture within your district, you may not be able to solve it in 1 year, but we really have benefited from a close relationship throughout the whole year, knowing what we're doing, and everybody is throwing in their ideas and working together. So I think the idea of having a transition plan might be a new term or area that maybe LCI might want to consider. I'm sure you'll steal it, so go right ahead. That's just the way it is, but that's what we're going to do, and we'll see how it goes. I'm sure that it will, if nothing else, it'll help, in some ways, and probably not hit the mark on others, but that's where we're at. And we'll be doing that before she goes down for the multiple training, so that she has all that in mind when she goes down there to make those decisions. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
So I've been listening and enjoying myself here, and I'll make one comment that I noticed that Heather brought up, and I'm sure Lane's involved in this as well. You talked about new member orientation. One of the things I've discovered in my 25 plus years, or actually it was 27 years of Lionism, is a lot of Lions clubs have members who went to new member orientation. And here they are 30 years later, and they've never been to another one. So I encourage you to drop the new. It's member orientation. You may find that some Lions who haven't been to one for 10 years might come to an orientation and find out what's going on at LCI, or find out what's going on in a little more detail. and might step up to be a zone chairperson and then eventually become district governor and be part of that leadership team. But as long as it's new, they're not going to go because I'm not a new member. And that's really, really kind of critical to look at. And at a lot of past district governors, and I've already come up close on my 20-year mark as a past district governor. Some of the 30-year past district governors don't understand that Lions clubs have changed in 30 years. There's a lot of new things going on. I was in the year when half of it was PU 101 paper and half of it was online. And that's what I had to cope with, was a transition. And then 2 years after I finished as governor, there was no more paperwork allowed. Yet some clubs are still submitting the paper forms come hell or high water. And it took a lot of effort to get them to switch over. So these are things, make it a member orientation and encourage Lions who haven't, if you haven't been to one for 10 years, come on out. Even if there's a luncheon involved, sometimes you get people, I know there's a lot of past district governors that go for the lunch. They could care less about whatever else is going
Free
on,
lunch.
but we're going for lunch.
Yeah. I'm the district administrator and I have 3 clubs that still print out the PU 101 old paper form and mail it to me to enter for them.
And this, you've got to break them of that. I know, Matt, it's tough, but you got to break them of that.
Right.
It's like certified guiding lions. People say you only send people to certified guiding lions course who are going to be guiding lions. The last certified guiding lions course that I was involved in, and Gail taught with me, we had 35 people attend.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 4 I would recommend to the governor of the 35 people who attended could possibly serve as certified guiding lions. The rest would be just a disaster for a new club. But they were there, they got the education, they got the little box check that says, I am a certified guiding lion. So, look at things like that. The more you get people involved in things and are interested in things like club officer training, get them to come out to that, do a big school, and again with a luncheon. My year as governor, we had, for my year of the club officer training, which was done in April prior to my taking the position, I had 178 people attend Guiding Lions School, or the club officer orientation school. And yeah, probably 30 or 40 of those were past district governors who were there for the luncheon. But the fact that they were there and could talk to people about it and talk to people about being presidents and things like that. And the mentorship thing is another thing to look at as well. I've said to Gail, you're the GLT for the district. Make sure every secretary and every treasurer and every president knows that they can call you if they've got questions. And because people need to know that they're not alone. If it's not working, call someone. Don't necessarily phone the district governor because they may be overwhelmed. Don't necessarily phone Bernie if it's involving computers. You will be overwhelmed. So, things like that you need to look at. But a lot of this new members and new. Look after the old guys as well, and maybe some of them will start stepping up and serving.
Yeah,
It
we
sounds like
I have
you
a
might
question.
take a road trip because you wine and dine up in Canada. Maybe we should take a road trip up there. We're
Mhm.
past district governors. We want a free meal.
Rick, you had something to share?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Did you
Would
say
you call it
Ray
on
or
me?
Rick?
I said Rick, but we'll go to you next, Rick.
Thank you.
I have a question. I said I only had to speak. Is it use the same cabinet members? I've asked all the current ones that are serving, and they've all but 2 agreed to serve for me. Well, actually 3, but I filled one with a new person. One that was the last year, I guess it was. So I'm using the same cabinet, but that's not including the zone chairs. I've got 3 of the 6 zone chairs filled. I got 3 more filled yet. So I just want to. And then the other problem is we don't have in our district. We don't have a district governor, second vice district governor elected staffed up to be. So we're still working on that. But is it a problem to keep using the same cabinet? As long as they're willing to serve.
Depends on if they're effective in those positions or not, would be my response.
Yeah,
Sometimes the same people being in the cabinet for too long can actually sabotage your leadership development in your district and can lead to other problems. Sometimes it's effective because they're very good and very passionate about those positions. But the one thing to keep in mind is that oftentimes holding like a chairperson on the cabinet is some people's first step towards maybe being willing to be a zone chair and maybe being willing to be a second vice district governor someday. And if you keep the same people all the time, you might lose out on the opportunity of some younger or less experienced Lions that are looking to move up in leadership. So I'd be careful with it, but in some ways it can be very effective too if they're good at what they're doing.
And if they're not effective, don't appoint them as a placeholder.
It's tough to people for leadership also.
Yeah. It's
Ray?
really critical that they're not effective. Don't appoint them.
So what I was going to say is what our club, local club, started doing 3 months ago was we have a protocol committee, and myself and a member that joined in 59 who we maximum 10 minutes per meeting. And we started the first business meeting with how Lions started and their history. The next one, a maximum 10 minutes per meeting, was the history of our own club. In January, what I did was I handed out information on how the members could get into My Lion and how the committee members could report. Not that they can put the final in, but at least to get it to the secretary. And so we've got a policy in place that you have a maximum 10 minutes per business meeting, not at the social. And it's, we've got members that have been there for 25 years that didn't know some of the stuff. And one of the ones that this member that joined in 59 said is when I was reading out, Lions International doesn't want to control the local clubs. They want to keep the group networking, but they don't want to be, this is how you have to run your club. They want to listen to the individual clubs, which was pretty important and maybe an idea that people have developed over the years of being Lions. So
well, it looks like we're a few minutes over time. A great conversation here tonight. I'm glad that we had some stuff to continue to talk in. We knew that the build a plan isn't the longest slide deck to kind of walk through. It's one of the easier steps as far as you can't really show fake action plans too much without it, being redundant. So I appreciate it. We look forward to talking with everybody in April for our build success, and we'll probably look for some opportunities to maybe have some more just roundtable discussions like this between now and then, because it seemed like everybody had some good questions, and this felt like a great conversation to me. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it, and good luck. And remember that the three of us are here to help you however we can.
Good luck, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks for letting me join in. Even you, Bernie.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Anna, can you just stay on for a minute?
Yep.
Okay, it's three of us.